I think charity shopping is for everyone. Baseline, you're raising money for a charity. People hear my videos, hear my accent, and they think, oh, it's a posh girl, she's gentrifying. And they don't know the context of like why I'm so passionate about secondhand fashion and also about the charity.
Welcome back to On Ethical Business, a podcast brought to you by Boas. I'm Annie, and today I'm talking to Lottie Lashley. I first discovered Lottie on TikTok, where she makes videos about sustainable and secondhand fashion, and offers an incredible guide to charity shop shopping. She hosts LGBTQ+ charity shop events in London, and her videos have been viewed literally millions of times. I loved chatting with Lottie. We discussed her top charity shop tips if you've never stepped foot in one before, whether charity shops should be for everyone or if gentrification has gone too far, and Lottie shared her top charity shop purchases with me.
Hello.
Hi Lottie, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm excited to finally meet you. I feel like I've been chatting to you for weeks now. What have you been up to today?
Nothing much. I'm just working from home, so really nothing.
What is it that you do? You said you're a video editor.
Yeah, I'm a social media editor for Channel 5.
That's really cool.
It is a really cool job, and it's also like why I'm really into social media. And like everyone will be like, how do you make so many videos? And I'm like, yeah, but it's just what I do as a job. So like to me, it's like it takes me 10 minutes to do something because I've been doing it for like 4 years, whereas other people are like, it takes me so long to edit a TikTok, and I'm like, I can literally do it in like 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I'm really interested in your TikTok. I'm interested in your focus is pretty much fully on charity shops and your like really informative stuff. I mean, I think I know the answer, but I'll ask anyway. Was it you wanted to make TikTok videos and you were like, I'm going to make them about charity shops, or have you always just been a charity shop connoisseur? And you
So it's really interesting because I did make videos like I've always been into charity shops since I was like 15, definitely, and secondhand fashion. But then I went through a period in university where I was addicted to fast fashion. I was just buying so much fast fashion. And although I would go charity shopping, it wasn't my main thought. And then I did more research into like the environmental impacts of fast fashion and like the boohoo orders I was getting and stuff. And I realized like, I can't keep doing this. We're not doing this anymore. So that was probably like 3 years ago. And then I made all of my clothes secondhand. And then I was like, I really want to do some content creation. And like with social media, you've either got to like inform, engage, or entertain. And I was like, I don't want to entertain people. I'm not a comedy person. Like, I think I'm funny, but I don't think I'm funny enough to put on TikTok. And I don't want to like engage in another way. So I was like, I want to inform. So I was like, I'll try with crochet. And then I started doing crochet TikTok. And I was like, I'm just not as passionate about this. Like, I'm not really into it, and it's not very sustainable. And I was really sustainable minded.
Yeah.
And then I think about a year ago, I was like, do you know what? I keep getting all these questions from people talking about charity shopping. They find it really inaccessible. They don't know where to start with it.
Friends?
Yeah, like all my friends, like work colleagues were just saying like, I do not know where to start with charity shopping. I don't know where to start with secondhand fashion or sustainable fashion, or like there is some sustainable fashion. Like I do some orders on Vinted and eBay, but I just prefer charity shopping. But I'll like talk through Vinted and eBay as well, because that's really accessible. We can talk about that later, how it's more accessible for like people who are larger sizes. But yeah, I was like, I'll do some videos. And then they started like popping off of just like me talking about the charity shop areas in London I was going to. And now what I do is just basically charity shop content, like around how I enjoy charity shopping. I've got like quite a few videos that I'll do repeats of that people seem to really enjoy. And it's just like making content so that people find it more accessible to go charity shopping and feel that secondhand fashion and sustainable fashion are like two different avenues. Sustainable fashion can be so expensive, and you're like looking at brands and you're like, it's such a cool piece, it's made sustainably. But secondhand fashion can be so much more like accessible to everyone. Like if you're going to a charity shop, or if you're buying on Vinted and eBay, you can get fast fashion as long as you're not doing it. I mean, if you want the high-end stuff that's currently like selling and like whatever's on trend currently, you're not going to be able to get it with secondhand fashion. But I feel like our culture, and especially like our generation in the last year, have really like become just really into secondhand fashion and being more sustainable. It's so much. Well, I was bloody eco captain when I was 15. Nobody cared about the
That's
environment.
lame.
That was so lame. I know. And now it's like, oh, it's so cool to be into the environment. Like people at my school are into the environment and they're cool. I'm like, that's so annoying. Like I've been into it from the beginning, but now
I've been born 10 years later.
I would have been really
popular.
cool.
Yeah. I think you're so right though when you say sustainable fashion and secondhand fashion are two different things. Like I don't have £500 to spend on a pair of linen trousers.
No.
Like they're lovely, and I, one day.
Yeah.
But I just don't. That's not accessible for normal people.
There are some sustainable brands. So Hissy Fit are an amazing sustainable brand that are more affordable. And No Land, I'm actually wearing their top. They're a really cool streetwear brand, and they're all more affordable pieces. And they're like, so this top was like 25 quid. They're selling trousers for £30-40. They're made from dead stock fabric. That's the same with Hissy Fit. Like there are some brands, but you can't just buy your whole outfit from those brands for sure. Like you need other avenues to get your clothes from if you want to like be more sustainably minded with your clothing purchases.
Yeah, I completely agree. But that's the thing. So you said, your top might cost like £25 or whatever. But when you have that option versus an order from Boohoo, because when you said you went through your fast fashion university era, you've never related to anything more. Like, the ASOS orders were coming in hard. I still have my wardrobe now, but I never wore that. I ordered literally like whole section of my wardrobe is just like first year Annie fresher. Like, I have a student loan in my account and a £1,500 overdraft. Let's just like really utilize the ASOS next day delivery for £10 a year.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But it was crazy. It's so a coping mechanism for like, you're obviously going through a lot. And at the time in university, I was going through loads of stress. You're using fashion as a coping mechanism. We're taught by like all like avenues of social media that like, oh, you should be buying fast fashion. You should be consuming more. Consumerism makes you happy. You could look like this person if you're consuming. And that definitely hit me. And then I just like realized, I think second going into third year, I was like, this is disgusting. Like I would look at the Boohoo order and be disgusted. Yeah, I would be like, this clothing was made by a child. It was made by an enslaved person. Like you've got to think about where your clothes come from and how they're made and how they're impacting the environment. They're impacting the people that they're made by. And I just couldn't ignore it anymore. So yeah, I definitely was really hard addicted to fast fashion. And I'm glad that now I'm like able to realize that that was a bad thing. But it's a universal experience. There's no shame in shopping fast fashion.
And it, like, if you think about it, for most people, especially if you're from the UK, you go to university, all of a sudden you have to choose an outfit every single day.
Oh my gosh, it was uniform, and then you go to having outfits, and I was so like in shock, especially as like a lesbian. I was like, I want to fit in with all the straight girls. I wore the most disgusting outfits. I would wear like the shortest skirts. I was like, I want to fit in with all my friends. And then I realized, I was like, I don't need to look like them. I can look like however I want to look like, but you're trying to fit into this culture of like clubbing, like lights, and like every single night.
You're going out like 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah. My gosh, yeah. What are you going to wear? Every night needs to be a different outfit. And then, it was so ridiculous.
Do you think then, because you said earlier that people now, eco is a bit cooler, people are starting to think a bit more. Do you think that that's true? And do you think that when people are shopping on Vinted, Depop, charity shops, is that because they're conscious of their shopping habits and how sustainable they are? Or is it because it's cool now? And you can get cool, trendy pieces on there?
I think it's like part and part. Like you've got one section where it is now cool to be like, oh, I got this from a vintage shop, I got this from the same shop. And you'll see it in London when you go in Brick Lane and there's like 60 quid jackets that are like super expensive, but they're like, oh, it's secondhand. Like you're buying into that gimmick. And there's definitely two different avenues of people who like want to wear it every day for the ethical reasons and people who want to wear it because it's cool. And the issue with having it just for coolness is like, I was at a vintage market and I was like, do you have any sizes that are not small? And they were like, no. But our website might. And I was like, yeah, but that's not the point. Like, why are we making, even from fast fashion into secondhand and sustainable and vintage fashion, we're starting to make it just for smaller sized people. And that's so like, not inclusive, and I don't think that's what about charity shopping or like secondhand fashion is about. Like, you go into charity shops and you want to see like a whole range of sizes, and like on Vinted and eBay it's so great seeing a range of sizes, because secondhand and sustainable fashion should be for like everyone. It shouldn't just be for like people with smaller bodies that can just fit into like the tiny small piece because it's been made from like secondhand fabric. And I just don't think it should also be like really expensive. That's the issue, where it comes from it being like cool. Now it's the trend.
And if it's not for everyone, it's not going to make a dent in
not at all
impact it needs to. Like, sustainable secondhand fashion has to be for everyone, or we're not going to fix this massive problem.
Totally.
So is that something that's a problem for you then if you go into a charity shop? Is like, what do you mind me asking, what size?
I'm size 14, 16, but in charity shops obviously you have to, like, sometimes I have to buy 16, 18 because if they've been washed quite a few times. So I'm like, I don't love the size mid-size, but I'm definitely not skinny, I'm definitely not on the larger side. I've got a few friends who are on the larger size, and them trying to find secondhand fashion in a charity shop is sometimes a struggle because it's just like what your nan's wearing. But that's why I always recommend like Vinted to them, or Hissy Fit, the sustainable brand, is really great for larger sizes. But sometimes it's just so annoying. Like, I'll go into a shop with my friend who's a smaller size than me, and she's like, oh, this is perfect, this will fit. And I'm like, yeah, but I have to be so careful what I'm trying on and what I'm wearing, because I don't want to buy something that doesn't fit. Like, I automatically don't know it's going to fit. So that's great when charity shops have changing rooms. But honestly, for me, I don't struggle like with my sizes, because I think a lot of mums are my size. So I'm getting a lot of mums fashions. So that's fine.
This is another thing I'm thinking about. Like, sometimes when I'm shopping secondhand or shopping in a charity shop, I go the other way and I'm like, oh, I'll buy this, and this.
Yeah.
It's £5. I'll go home and then I still don't wear it.
No, it's overconsumption. So like, that's now where I'm like trying to always try stuff on. So if I can't try something on unless I know it's going to fit, like it's a brand that I know the size of, I can't buy it. Like, I'm having to stop myself, because obviously I was super addicted to fast fashion. So now you can go the other way and be like super addicted to charity shopping. And I've got loads of clothes. And now I'm like, quite a few of them I'm sending to swaps, or like I'm doing that with them, or I'm giving them to like charities. But you've just got to be careful with it either way, because like that need to consume still hits you with like Vinted. I have gone through periods of just having during lockdown, so many Vinted parcels were coming to my door.
Like, no doubt about it, I'm addicted. Like, I get a buzz, I get a rush, like I feel joy from consuming. Like,
yeah, definitely. Every like year to 6 months I'll buy like some basics that I can't find in charity shops in weekday, and I love weekday. Like, I'm obsessed with weekday. So I will buy like probably one pair of trousers that I've really been like looking at for the last 6 months, and I'll buy like a few tops and maybe a bag if I'm like, I'm gonna wear it loads and it'll fit with loads of outfits. And last time I bought a belt and like 2 vests and like a pair of trousers, and I still got that buzz of it like coming to the door, like I do with Vinted, where you're excited to get like consuming a parcel, which is just such a strange like feeling. Like, you're waiting, like I was waiting, counting down the days at work, being like, oh, my parcel arrives tomorrow. Like, it's so ridiculous.
You touched on something which is on my list of things I wanted to ask you, actually. As a charity shop expert, are there things that you found you can't get from a charity shop and you do have to look elsewhere for?
Yeah, I don't consume underwear or like bras, especially. I'm a larger cup size, so I have to get bras from somewhere else. And underwear I buy from M&S, because I'm not buying, one, sustainable underwear is so expensive, and I'm not going through that process, and I'd rather just buy it from M&S. And also, like, I sometimes can't find swimming costumes because I'm really particular about swimming costumes, like not being worn by another person. Like, I don't like want that. But I did find in a charity shop, and I found quite a few with like swimming costumes with tags still on. So recently we went, it's such a find. And I think more and more charity shops are having them, like if you look in the swimming section, with tags on. And like, that just makes me like, oh, nobody's worn, that's fine. Shoes as well used to be an issue, but now I go on Vinted. Like, shoes in charity shops I often don't purchase, but now I go on like Vinted and like type in new, or like not new without labels, or like anyway, like unwanted Christmas gifts of shoes. There are so many on Vinted, so I can actually purchase like secondhand shoes. But I do think if you're getting loads and loads of wear out of them, like I bought a pair of Nikes last like 6 months ago, and I've worn them like twice a week, every week. Like I'm getting so much consumption out of them that like it outweighs, like the cost per wear is super low compared to like how much I paid for them. I think everyone has their own limits. Like I will not buy secondhand undergarments. The amount of times you wear a bra, like I've worn this bra probably for a whole year, like with another bra, like on and off, wearing 2 bras. Like as long as you're not overbuying them and over consuming them, I don't think there's an issue. And we should, as like women or people who wear bras, you should be having something that's comfortable.
And the other thing is with charity shops that I find, and maybe you'll be able to help me with this, is let's say I was looking for, you mentioned a swimming costume. I was looking for something, if I had a holiday in 2 weeks, I didn't have a swimming costume, I needed a swimming costume. So I think Vinted and Depop are great, but if I wanted to buy something from a charity shop, that's the thing with charity shops, it's really hard if you're looking for something. It's almost like you have to go in often, all the time, and if you see a swimming costume you really like, buy it for your holiday in a year.
Yeah.
Which kind of doesn't match with the only buy something if you need it. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, it does.
A little bit difficult with charity.
I think I plan a lot. So like I plan, like I needed a swimming costume. I planned like a month or 2 ahead of like when I go to charity shops, I'm going to look for it. Like it's all about planning. And also if you already have those basics, then you're not worrying about it when you get to it. And it's having like, so I make like a charity shop wish list that I'm looking for whenever I go to a charity shop. So currently my wish list is like a vest. I found one of those 2 weeks ago, like staple pieces. So there was a black, like I wanted a black leather bag to go with my leather jacket, and I thought about it like 3 months ago and I'd added it to my wish list, and then I found it over the weekend. And it's just about like making like pre-planning in advance, which it is annoying, but I just love charity shops and like finding the unique pieces and the pieces that I don't know aren't like everyone else is wearing, like not to be like I'm an individual, but I just think it's so cool that we're wearing like different clothes to everyone else.
Definitely is. Like it's just the age-old thing, like you don't want to be wearing what everyone else is wearing. And if you're getting your stuff in a charity shop, you're going to be pretty unlucky if you are wearing the same thing someone else is. Okay, planning ahead. I'm going to note that down. And the other thing, my other issue is when I go into charity shops, I just sometimes feel a little bit overwhelmed. You know, it's not like when you go into H&M. I mean, actually, scrap that. H&M is also very...
I get really overwhelmed by fast fashion places now. Like I went in, my girlfriend wanted a suit and we were going around and I was like, I hate this shop, we're leaving. I was like, I can't find anything, it's not organized correctly, like how I'd want it to be.
It's so loud. That's one overwhelming experience. But charity shops, for me, at the other end of the spectrum, sometimes I just like, you might not agree, but sometimes I feel like I go in and I'm just like, no, it's not the day for me. I'm not in the right mood.
But then I think with that, like sometimes I even go into a charity shop and I'm like, do you know what? Don't vibe it today. Like I'm gonna go have brunch instead. Like it's all about like taking breaks. That's what I always say. Like I have a queer charity shop meetup and we always say like we have to have at least 2 coffee breaks in between because you don't want to get charity shop fatigue. And you want to just take it really slow. Like it's meant to be an enjoyable experience instead of like being like really fast fashion, like, oh, I have to consume. So just taking breaks. But some days I'm like, oh, I cannot be bothered. Like I can't be bothered with the people in here. Like if it's got loads of people who are like my age looking for the same sort of stuff, I just can't be bothered to like jostle for people. And like it's not a force thing. Like if you just go back whenever you feel better or like are in the mood to do it, I think I get the exact same. It's very relatable.
It's like reprogramming yourself to think of shopping in a different way. Like you don't need to go in, grab, 4 dresses from Zara rail in 4 different sizes because their sizes are rubbish, and like try them on in the bright changing rooms, look in the mirror, feel like shit, buy one anyway because
you need to consume
buy something and then not return it and never
definitely.
It's absolutely reprogramming. So do you enjoy generally shopping in person then, or are you tempted with like vintage Depop shopping online?
I go through phases. So like at the beginning of the year, I was really into Vinted and eBay because I was like really busy at the same time, and I wanted to find particular things. So I had to find a suit for like an event that was like 3 months later, and I went on Vinted because I was like, I'm not going to find it in a charity shop. Although I did find a really good suit in a charity shop, but that was like a one-off. Like, oh, get it because it's there.
Yeah, exactly.
But it just wasn't fitting for the event. Like I wanted something. I got a naked suit secondhand that was perfect on Vinted. But currently, because I have a lot of clothes and like every single time I want to wear an outfit, I've got like clothes in my like brain of like what I'm gonna wear. I'm more into charity shopping at the moment, like especially when you go to like a new place. So I went to Bath over the weekend, and like trying out their charity shops was like, it's such a different place. It's so much more fun than just going to the same ones. So like I'm going to Glasgow tomorrow, and I'll like be trying out their charity shops.
Great stuff in Glasgow.
I'm making sure there's loads of luggage space. Like I'm hardly taking any clothes, and then I've just got like all my carry-on will be like charity shop stuff. But it's just like a fun activity. Like I'm going with my friend as well, so I know we both like charity shopping. But yeah, I'm more into charity shops, I would say, currently. And also like a lot of content people want on social media is charity shop content, because people do enjoy it, but they just don't find it like accessible, or they don't know. So like I quite like it because then I get to go make a video about like finding particular things, or like my tips and tricks of charity shopping.
So what then would be your main tips? And sorry if I'm stealing your content here.
No, it's fine.
What would be your
probably already said it
for somebody who's never been in a charity shop before,
like,
and wants to get started? This is like, what on earth? Like, that's all secondhand clothes.
Yeah, that's really good. I would say take it really slowly. Go into one that's like near you, and then like plan to get a coffee afterwards. So planning in those breaks, and also just like having a rummage in like every size section, which can be done hardening, but sometimes like I'll find a top that's in the 10 section because it's been mislabeled, which often happens with charity shopping. Or like go to your section, have a look at the colors that you like, think about your style and what you want to consume, and then you'll find something probably of that vein. And also don't like, I know charity shops have loads of secondhand clothes in, but don't buy something that is a bad quality. Like just because it's secondhand doesn't mean you have to consume it. A lot of my friends will say like, oh, this top's really great. And I'm like, yeah, but if you were going to buy that originally, this is normally with London stores, in Urban Outfitters, it's the same price. So it doesn't make sense to buy it secondhand unless you're going to wear it lots and lots. Or if you're just consuming it because of the name brand, then you should buy something else.
Do you have tips for how to check if something is good quality?
I Google a lot in charity shops. Like, so when I bought the bag over the weekend, I was Googling the brand, and then I saw online it was going for like 60 to 100 quid, like resale on eBay and stuff. It's a vintage bag, so, but that's how you check. Or like, and I bought it for 20 quid. I was very proud of myself. Or if you just check like the tags and stuff. So like, I don't buy Primark, I don't buy Shein, I don't buy Boohoo secondhand at charity shops unless it's something I really like. I probably won't because the quality is not great. You want to buy from like vintage M&S. If you see an M&S label, it's gonna wear really well. It's gonna be great. A lot of like Topshop's quite good quality. Like all of the brands, but you're just checking to like, I just would not buy the lower brands that are already really fast fashion. Although they may seem cool, they're not going to last you long. So there's no point to be like consuming it and like adding it into your wardrobe.
Yeah, I think M&S is such a good one.
Such a good brand.
I have a really great navy blue like wool M&S coat that I got in a charity shop, and I have I think BHS as well is a great one.
They're iconic brands, and the reason that they are more expensive is because they last well. And like when you find their brands, it's often going to be mum stuff, and you'll be like, oh, why do I like this? It's because it's like a piece that you can add into a capsule wardrobe rather than just like, it's great for basics, definitely, but it's just checking the brands, and also checking like all of the, like when you buy a top, for instance, you check underneath the arms to see if it's got any holes. You're checking the collars to see, like, you got to do checks before you buy something, otherwise there's no point to purchase something that's like not gonna last you a long time.
When you shop in charity shops, are you thinking about the charity?
Yeah, 10,000%. So I one of the benefits for me, charity shopping, and that why I'll do it over sustainable fashion, or like I won't consume hard for sustainable fashion or vintage, is because it's also for charities. Like I think that aspect is so amazing, that you're raising money whilst also like funding charities. And I'll also do it, so I go to particular charity shops because I really like feel passionate about charities. So like Mind is one charity shop. One, it's an amazing charity shop to go into, but it's such an amazing charity that it also lets me kind of like, when I buy something, I'm like, even if I didn't need it, like I've given money to charity. Like it's raising money for charity. It's such a great cause, that I don't know, I think it's such a great like secondary thing, along with also it being secondhand fashion.
Do you think that people share your view? Because I know from my perspective, like when I'm in a charity shop, I don't know if I can say that I'm thinking about the charity. In fact, I can pretty much say that I don't really like feel kind of good about myself, because it's like, oh, you know, I'm shopping sustainably, but I'm not sure that my mind is on the charity. Like, do you think that's common for lots of people?
I don't know. It's so interesting. I think because I also like so there's a charity called Give Your Best, which works with refugees and helping clothe women and children. And I'm doing a lot of work with them for their fashion show coming up. And because my angle is coming from that like ethical standpoint of sustainable and secondhand fashion, and I've done a lot of research into that, and that's like what I'm really interested in and passionate about. That's why I'm coming at it from that angle of like thinking about the charities and thinking about the good they do, and like being mindful of which charities I donate clothes to, based on like, not that any charity is a bad charity, but if there's like places to donate clothes, I'm more likely to give it to charities that I like feel passionate about. But yeah, that's really interesting. I think it depends on the person, and it depends the reasons for you buying from charity shops, and like how much research you've done into the charities and into like the ethical, like how unethical fast fashion is, basically.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. And I suppose, you know, if someone's shopping in a charity shop and they're not thinking about the charity, there's no harm in that. I just think it's an interesting thing to think about, especially because they're so cool right now.
Yeah, but I think if you've been charity shopping for a long time, like I have, so I was charity shopping from like 15, 14, because one, it's charity, two, it's like cooler fashion pieces that I wouldn't have been able to afford on like the £20 a week that I earned, like doing like I worked on canal boats and I was 14 and I was earning no money and I couldn't afford like fast fashion brands. So I would buy like charity shop clothes to actually be able to get clothes that I really wanted to buy because I was really into fashion. So I think if you're coming at it from that angle of someone who's been charity shopping for a long time, then you're going to think more about the charities. And it depends if you do charity work in your spare time. So I do a lot of videos on TikTok and stuff, and I'll like talk within the video. I talk about what the charity is raising money for. So like PDSA in Kentish Town, I was talking about how amazing they are. Kentish Town's like one of the hot areas in London to go charity shopping. It's like my favorite at the moment. But PDSA, I was saying how amazing they are to help people like pay for bills and stuff. And then it was so cute. The manager of the charity shop reached out to me and was like, "Thank you so much for supporting our charity shop. It was great. Like if you come in." And then I had Crisis, which helped the homeless people. Also, that's in Camden. And someone in the charity shop working was like, "Thank you so much for your video. People came in because they'd seen your video." And it's just so cool, so lovely. And I've done some bits with cancer research, but I just think it depends. Like I am doing it because like secondhand fashion is amazing and I love it, but I am also doing it because like the charities they support are so amazing as well. And it's such a great way to raise money for charities and to like support the volunteers and like give more platform to charity shopping. But obviously I am doing it for secondhand fashion because fast fashion is so accessible that I think there needs to be more representation within social media of people buying secondhand fashion.
There's another controversial topic that people are talking about a lot about charity shops at the moment, about whether charity shops are kind of being, I don't know if gentrified is the right word, but kind of, you know.
Should we gatekeep charity shops, basically?
Yeah, like are they for the fashion girlies trying to get their fashion kicks? Are they for everyone? Are they for people that can't afford to shop elsewhere?
So I think I've done a few videos on this, and like I've had to take a lot of time to myself to think about it. I think charity shopping is for everyone. Baseline, you're raising money for a charity. Although they are being maybe gentrified, everywhere's being gentrified. Everywhere's being like, that's the issue, is gentrification. It's not the issue of people wanting to support charities. I think if you are coming at it from the background that you want to own a space that you, one, don't own, that's not good. I get negative comments. People hear my accent and they have actually stopped. I did a video on why gatekeeping isn't cool for charity shops, and they've stopped a lot more. But people hear my videos, hear my accent, and they think, oh, it's a posh girl, she's gentrifying. And they don't know the context of like why I'm so passionate about secondhand fashion and also about the charities.
Also, they didn't know you.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting how people like assume from an accent.
Yeah.
But and I'm not denying it. I am a posh girl, but but I'm a posh girl that's really into secondhand fashion. I'm a posh girl that's really into sustainability and being more mindful of her actions. And I think when you're trying, sorry, going back to your question, I keep getting distracted. Going back to that question of gentrifying space and gatekeeping space from other people, I just think that's so toxic, and you can't not allow people into a space. And if you want to find access to places to get clothing, as I mentioned, Give Your Best is a great charity that works with people giving free clothing, people in need. There's also so many charities that my friends have worked with or I've worked with that are giving clothes to those in need that need clothing. So one charity that's really great is Salvation Army. They give clothing to homeless women. So often if I have like more in stylish clothes, I'll give my clothes to, so they give it to homeless people, but they also give it to homeless women. So if I have stylish clothes, I'll donate my clothes to that charity so that it gets to homeless women who want to be more in style. But I think if you're being mindful about your actions and about your consumption, I do on the other side have an issue with Depop girlies and Depop upsellers. I don't use Depop anymore as a platform. I do not like it.
Why is that?
I think it's just full of people upselling. I think it's full of people. Vinted for me is that there is enough clothes on Vinted of people just trying to get rid of clothes and not wanting to give them to landfill, whereas Depop, people seem to, a lot of time I'm just hitting this brick wall of like people trying to upsell or people trying to like sell clothes for more money than they're actually worth because it's a trend, and people going into charity shops and just buying stylish pieces. Unless you're consuming it for yourself, I'm like, there's a fine line there, and I need to go away and think about it before I talk about it more. I haven't said a video yet about it because of this point, but I think that's just also like over consuming. But gentrification is going to happen everywhere, and the reason charity shop prices are going up in London isn't just because they're becoming more popular, it's because the buildings are like upping their rent, so the charities are having to like make the clothing more expensive so they can actually take the top line for the charities.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. I've seen a lot of comments on your videos, but on loads of different like charity shop videos, thrifting videos about how this isn't your space. Like, you know, you're going into an area of London, you know, where people need the charity shops. But I think it's also interesting because you can get really, really cheap clothes in Primark now.
Yeah, you can get really cheap clothes if you want to be more ethical with it. Vinted, eBay. Nobody's really tapped into eBay yet, and if you want cheap clothes, you can get them from eBay. But if you're talking about access to space, I don't know. It's such a interesting conversation, but I also am so firm on we shouldn't be gatekeeping secondhand fashion. And I've had people say like, oh, I was worried to go into charity shops, and I'm like, but it's raising money for charities. That's the bottom line. Is like, yeah, it's a way to get secondhand fashion, it's a way to do this, but you are raising money for charities. That's end of.
Okay, let's end on one final nice question. Do you have a best charity shop purchase ever? Or maybe top two?
Yeah, it's so hard because I don't consume for like big brands, so it's not going to be like a big brand name because I'm not consuming
not
like brands. But my best find was, I found this like, and I'll describe it. It's literally over there, but I'm going to describe it because it's a podcast, obviously. It was like this long denim perfect coat, and I'd had the shittiest day charity shopping and hadn't found anything. And I was wanting to find a pair of trousers, and none of them were fitting me. I was having a terrible day. And I go into
trousers are like trousers, I actually think are from like the devil. Like trying on trousers, like I don't know why I'm welling up right now.
It's so stressful.
Trousers offend me. Okay, I'm sorry.
But trying to find trousers that fit is so hard, especially in secondhand fashion or charity shop fashion, like so hard. Anyway, I'd done this. I went to the last charity shop and I was like, I just had a Greggs, which I just spilt on myself, and I bought it for myself as like, it's okay. You don't need to fit into these clothes. You can have a Greggs. You still need to provide food for your body. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going into this last charity shop. Oh, sorry, I just swore. I'm going into this last charity shop, and then I saw this like perfect like denim long jacket, and it was like a size 10 and I'm like size 14, 16. So I was like, I'll go to the changing room and try it on, maybe it'll fit. And it fits me like perfectly. It was a tenner. It's actually turned out to be a brand that was like originally 100 quid. I don't know who donated it. It was stunning. It's got like these leather like details. It's perfect. I'm so excited to wear it for autumn more. And I went up to the cashier and I can't believe it was a tenner. And I was like to the lady, I can't believe it's a tenner. And she was like, I've just put that out. And I was like, it must have been like waiting for me.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Lottie, and thank you all for listening. Make sure to check out Lottie's videos on TikTok, the secret charity shop locations and sustainable fashion tips. And make sure to follow us at boas.good on Instagram so you don't miss our next episode or any of our updates.